Good evening. You have tuned in to the African American Network TV, where we have a local feel with a global reach. My name is Cynthia Freeman Gibbs, and I am your host for this evening. I am a local author of 3 published books, and I've also been commissioned by musical bridges around the world to write a film and act in it called The Quilt, A Living History of African American Music, which is going to be released to the public in July of this year at the Carver. So stay tuned for more information about that. Now, if you look on the wall behind me, you may see some exhibits because I'm sitting in this jewel in San Antonio called the San Antonio African American Community Archive and Museum, located at 218 South Crescent Street. It's open every day of the week, and if you go to the website, SAAACAM.org, you can find information about their hours, events, programming, and this wonderful blues festival that is coming up on April the 28th at the ESPY. And it just so happens that I am here with an award-winning singer who is Houston's own Queen of the Blues and the headliner for the Blues Festival, Keeshea Pratt of the Keeshea Pratt Band. Welcome, Keeshea.
Thank you. So good to be here.
Oh, we're glad to have you back.
Yes, I'm excited. When I got the call that she wanted us back, I said, and it was like immediate. Like we did it last year, like the next week. And so I actually had forgotten about it, and my manager said, we gotta get ready. I said, what are we doing? He said, we got the festival. I said, what festival? He said, Fiesta. I said, oh. Yeah, so I'm excited.
Yeah, well, it was a no-brainer because bringing you here last year, you brought down the house. You and the band, y'all tore it up.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That means we did our job.
Yes, yeah. So now I understand that you originally met the CEO of SAAACAM, Deborah Jarman, who is a jewel to us in this community, and that the two of you vibed, and she invited you to come for the Blues Festival last year. And actually, she told me and my husband that we had to hear you right away, so we jetted on up to Austin, heard you, we danced doing Tina Turner, and my husband immediately said, yes, we have to bring her here for the Blues Festival. So
your husband knows some things.
Yes, he does. So what I wanted to do is this evening give people a chance to know who you are, if they don't already know who Keeshea Pratt is, and just to ask you a few questions about yourself.
Okay.
So let's start off with talking about where are you from originally?
I tell people that I'm a Mississippi girl living in a Texas world. I am originally born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi. And I've been a Texan since 2011, but I still represent Mississippi everywhere I go. Mississippi will always be home to me. Mississippi basically molded me, gave me what I have on the inside. And for Mississippi to be the birthplace of blues, I'm just, ecstatic to say that I am from Mississippi.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And you grew up in a musical family?
I did.
Okay.
Everyone in my family, they were either a singer, played an instrument, or they were in athletics, or all 3. My mom was the only one that was just a singer. Everybody else, she was spoiled. And but she gravitated to the music soul. And then she was real scary, so she didn't like to get hit. She didn't want to play ball, so she stayed in the house. She learned how to sew and do everything else, while her sister and brothers, they were all playing instruments, playing football, playing instruments, playing basketball. And so everybody in the family was just, it was just something there. And even like my maternal grandparents and my paternal grandparents, my paternal grandfather had a blues band that I didn't even find out that he had until he was getting ready to go be with the Lord. And I'm just looking at him. I say, excuse me? Yeah. But the Lord came and talked to me. And I said, well, what did the Lord tell you? Told me I got to stop singing this blues and playing this blues. I said, the Lord didn't tell you that. I said, my grandmama told you.
Until that was the Lord.
Right. I said, because you got in a lot of trouble when you, he said, but he really enjoyed it. And what got him was that he didn't even realize that blues was a love of mine. That blues was something that I would just get into. And I told him, I said, I couldn't help it. Even with I grew up with my maternal grandparents. So my grandfather was a carpenter and he was a mathematician. So on the weekends, he would be outside hammering, doing this, but we would listen to blues.
So is that where you got your
I think that's where I got my love for it from. And we always watched everybody on television. I knew who B.B. King was. And Bobby Rush, you know, being from Jackson and being around him. And it's just, I knew that blues started all the other music that I loved. I could tell as a little girl. I was like, ooh. And so I just grew to love it. But I started singing R&B. And, but of course, you know, I was in church. So gospel is actually my first love. Like, there's nothing that will ever take me from my gospel roots.
Yeah, that's in you.
It's in me. Yeah. So I started off doing R&B and soul blues, and you know, it just everybody was loving it, but there was something about that old B.B. King, that old Coco Taylor, Robert Johnson blues that I just couldn't shake.
Just wouldn't let you go.
It wouldn't, and the stories of hearing about their lives and stuff intrigued me. So I guess you could say I just gave into it. Yeah.
Now, did you ever feel any pressure coming from the church as far as performing in nightclubs? What was that experience like?
Because I was a praise and worship leader. And so every Thursday we would have rehearsal. Well, when I started singing in the clubs, I didn't tell anybody because I really didn't want people to, you know how they do. I didn't think I could handle the ridicule. So I didn't tell anyone. My pastor didn't know, so I thought my pastor knew. And so Tuesdays and Thursdays were my nights to perform. So I would leave rehearsal early. I quite already knew, but, you know, and so once it got out, and I was just going to perform just to, I'm not going to say it was a hobby, but it was the beginning for me. And it was just like that. People started hearing and they started filling up. And the venues would be packed. And I went from Tuesday and Thursday to playing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then I started playing events. And by this time, people in the church were coming. Some of them were going back and saying negative things or whatever. But it was hard. It was really hard, especially when I knew that this was my ministry. And I don't think we as people who are in church, we don't really understand that everybody cannot be in church and sing and preach.
Was there ever anyone who finally said, Keeshea, it's okay?
Yeah, my pastor.
Your pastor.
We were in church one day and he called me down front and he gave me a prophecy. He said, this is not your platform. And I think I had just got through singing. And he said, you know, he said, sometimes God puts people in places because they're the only ones that can really, really grab the people. He said that because of what God has placed in you, he designed you for the world. He said, this is not your platform. And I cried. I was crying because I knew what he was talking about. And he told me, he said, whether you're singing Jesus loves me, or whether you're singing Let's Get It On, he said, God is going to be with you.
There we go.
And it was just, there were some other things that he said. And that was the day I just felt the release. And I was like, I'm not going to tell you what I was like to the church people, because that would not be godly of me.
We can talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about that. But I had this attitude of, you can't stop me.
Yeah, that's right. God gave you a gift.
Yeah, because this is what God has called me to do. And he's chosen me to do it. This is my ministry. Yeah. And people out there need to hear God through me. And I don't, and I know a lot of people don't like to talk about God and secular music or whatever, but God, he created everything.
Exactly.
And in the African American families, music was how we communicated. Music was how we healed. Singing those old hymns. Just listening to my grandparents talk about when they worked on the farms, picking cotton, how they would sing certain songs to let the rest of the family and the people know we got a meeting tonight.
Right.
So I don't take
going.
Right. So I don't take it lightly what I'm doing. I think blues is one of the foundations of all music, because everyone wanted to pull from blues. The Rolling Stones, they came over here and they wanted to meet Muddy Waters. And the Allman Brothers and just so many other artists. Blues was it for them, the foundation of their music, whether they're rock, country, it has really, really grown in so many genres of music, and you can hear it.
Do you think that there is a future for the blues?
I do. And the reason why is because we have young people who are now gravitating to it. And blues rock is a little bit more prevalent now. And what blues rock is blues music with a rock edge. So you have people like Eric Gales, Gary Clark Jr., and people like that are doing the blues rock. And for me, I like it. I just can't do a whole show of me in blues rock. But what I love about it is that it is integrating the older generations with the new generations and the generations to come. You got a lot of rappers who are now going, because in the beginning of hip hop, they were using live bands.
Right.
Remember?
Yeah.
And so now you have a lot of rappers that are starting to use live bands. They're starting back up. And they are literally using old blues tracks and, for their music.
And they're sampling.
And they're sampling. And like Doja Cat with Hound Dog.
Oh.
She has, you ain't nothing but a hound. And she got this groove going, and you can hear it. But that is Big Mama Thornton singing. She just sampled Big Mama Thornton's song, and she looped Big Mama Thornton's voice, and I like the song. I mean, I'm a hip hop person, not rap. There is a difference.
Yes.
There is a difference, and I tell my daughters all the time, hey, this rap stuff. I said, no, honey, hip hop is where it was. But I like her little song Doja that she has.
I have to check that out.
Yeah, you need to check it out.
Yes.
Listen to it tonight.
Yes. Why don't you do that? Yes. Well, let me ask you this. You mentioned you started off with R&B,
right.
But I also saw that you studied opera while you were at Tougaloo.
I did.
College, HBCU.
Right.
How did you go on that? Yes.
HBCU, baby. Yes. So my mom was classically trained, and my dad.
Okay.
And that's how my mom and dad met. And then they had me, bam, here I am. So I initially wanted to go to Jackson State because I wanted to be a JSET. And my mom was like, that will be a no. So my mom made a call and got me a music scholarship to Tougaloo that she didn't tell me about until we did college day at church. And they were announcing the scholarships. And and so I'm so excited because I was getting ready to go and try out for the JSACs that Monday. And they called my name and said, Tougaloo College, Miss Keeshea Pratt, Keeshea Harris, scholarship in music. And I'm sitting there like, what? I said, and they started clapping, and so I had to stand up and they had me to speak. So I told them, I said, I am just as excited as you guys are. I said, I am in awe. And that was all I said. And a month later, I was on campus and started studying music. And I'd already been studying because I played the piano.
Okay.
But actually, classical music and spirituals are my most favorite genre of music to sing. Yeah,
that's awesome.
It is my favorite. Classical music is just the dynamics of it. It just takes you on an emotional journey. An emotion, as I say, an emotional roller coaster. And I love to sing it. And it's funny because if you hear me sing that and you hear me sing blues, you're like, it's not the same person.
Wow, totally different.
Totally different.
Do you still sing?
I will.
Okay.
I will.
All right. Maybe a little tonight too.
I may be able to sing, my MD, my music director, he's like, no, do not.
Well, what would you say are the transferable skills between opera and the blues?
Well,
To
be honest with you, singing each genre is basically the same because you have to breathe. Your phrasing. Now, the phrasing is different, but you got to know how to breathe. You have to know when to project. You have to know what note needs you to do this and what note needs that. And when I was I was here a few months ago, and I played at Sam's Burger Joint we did a B.B. King tribute.
Okay.
And so there were some people there, and when we were done, this couple walked up, and the husband had studied music in Berkeley, and he told me, he said, "You're classically trained, right?" I said, "Yes, sir. How did you know?" He said, "I could tell the way you approached certain notes." He said, and I told my wife, "Oh, she's a pro." He said, "I guarantee you, she was classically trained." And so I do have to use what I was taught on how to approach the high notes and how to approach the lower, in my lower register when I'm singing certain notes, especially high notes, because I'm truly a contralto, but I can sing first soprano. And so whenever I am having to belt those notes, I have to approach them as an opera singer, which is almost literally flat-footed, breathe deep, and use my diaphragm a lot more than I would just, Yeah.
Wow. And I understand that you had an opportunity to travel internationally.
I did.
Mezzo soprano.
I did. That's when I became a professional singer. And I didn't know it until the conductor, he explained to us, he said, "You are now a professional singer." And I was 18 years old, and I'm looking like, what? He said, "Yes." He said, "Because you have been contracted out to perform, and people are paying you to travel and perform." So I was 18 years old. Grace Bumbry, who is a phenomenal opera singer. She's up there with Leontine Price, Marion, and all of them.
Yes.
And she actually was doing her own ensemble to tour overseas. And the ensemble, I think there were 32 of us, but the majority came from the Metropolitan Opera.
Oh, okay.
But she wanted to bring in some young blood, as she said. So she went to HBCUs and she auditioned singers. I didn't audition. And she wanted older, students. So everybody that was going, they were either juniors or seniors. I didn't audition. They needed an alto to come to rehearsal. So my choir director called. He said, what are you doing? And there's no telling what I was doing. I don't know where I was. And I told him, I said, whatever. He said, okay, well, we have this rehearsal, and I need you to come to this rehearsal. And I was like, I don't want to go. And by the way, he was also my godparent, so he'd been knowing me since birth. He said, I need you to come to this rehearsal. I was like, well, I'm doing something. He said, they're going to pay you $75.
Oh, I'm there.
I said, for how long? He said, 2 hours.
Oh.
I said, I'm on my way. So I went to the rehearsal.
Okay.
And the conductor, he just kept looking at me, and I was looking at him like, why are you, I'm 18 years old. He's tall in this Afghan with some boots on. And spring in Mississippi, so it's hot as all get out. And then he had this dry Jerry curl. So I was looking at him like, why are you looking at me? And so the next day, that night, my choir director called and he said, well, they want you to come back to rehearsal. I was like, for what? He said, they're going to pay you. He said, Keeshea, you're going to get paid. I said, okay. So I kept going to the rehearsal. And then one day, I went into rehearsal and Grace Bumper was sitting in front of my chair.
Oh, my goodness.
So the conductor had called her and told her, you need to come to Mississippi because you need to hear this girl. She said she's 18, but she has this voice. He said, Grace, she told me, he said, Grace, you need to come. So she flew in. She's originally from St. Louis.
Okay.
So she was in St. Louis. She had to go to New York and she flew to Mississippi. So he set her in front of my seat. And we did the rehearsal. And you could tell she had on her vocals there because she was sitting up and she had on a cape. She had a big hair and she sat there like this.
Oh.
And she just watched. And every now and then I catch her looking at me like this. And that was a Friday, Sunday morning around 4 a.m. She called my mom and asked my mom if I could be a part of the ensemble. My mom immediately said no.
Oh, she's like my 18-year-old daughter. Okay.
Yeah, I've never been away from home.
Oh.
And my first trip away from home, this was my first time flying, was to be on a 16-hour flight overseas. And my mom was like, she's just 18. She's not ready, blah, 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 blah. And she told my mom, she said, your daughter is different. She said, and your daughter's future is really, really bright. She said, I would like for you to allow me to cultivate her. And she said, no. So when she told my mom how much money I would make, my mother said, no, what do I need to do?
Where do I sign?
And so my mom came and woke me up. They were on the phone from like 4 to 6:30 in the morning. She woke me up at 7. She said, get up. She said, you're going to go to Europe. I said, what are you talking about? She said, Miss Montgomery and Larry just called me and I agreed to let you go. She said, so we've got to. And that morning, she went to church and announced it in church. And they actually started, that morning, they were writing checks at church. We did concerts, all types of things, just so that I would have money, there. And an amazing, rewarding experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I found out that I was an entertainer that could sing, not a singer that could entertain.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I found out who I was. And
Mm-hmm.
that summer of 1990, it was 1994.
Okay.
And I just, because we would do the shows, and then after the shows, because we'd be in the center of the cities, after the shows, the younger ones of us, and a couple of the ones from the Met, because they didn't want to be young, they were old enough to be our parents, but they wanted to hang with us.
Right.
We would go to the clubs in Europe, and we would perform. And I was the youngest, so they used to bully me. I used to get bullied. And everybody that was on that trip, I'm calling you out. You bullied. Y'all bullied me. But,
Name and name.
right. I want to start giving them names, but I'm holding on. But they would always make me be the front person. And so in Europe, they love everything about African American music. Aretha Franklin, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, Tina, Marvin Gaye, the Four Tops. They love Motown. So we did everything. And that is when I knew. I'm like, okay, I gotta go home and tell my mom that I want to be an entertainer. That didn't go over well. Because that's the life she wanted.
For herself?
For herself.
Oh.
But my mom wanted me to be, she wanted me to get a degree in something that was going to really make a lot of money.
Okay.
And I told her, I said, I can make a lot of money being an entertainer. I'm a star. And you know, you're 18, you see, all you see is bright lights, big city, you know. And it just didn't work that way. And I ended up just rebelling and doing the typical, you're not gonna let me do this, well, I'm gonna do this. And you know, but the creator always has a way to get you where he wants you.
He'll pull you back in.
Yeah, and it just for me to get this opportunity just blew me. I was like, oh my God, this is really happening for me. Wish it would have happened when I was 20-something, when I didn't have a belly and I was in shape. You know, you always want to do stuff like this when you're young because you want. But I'm appreciative to where I am now. I think that if I had not taken this path, I would not be as effective as I am as an artist. I would not be touching people the way that I touch them. That makes them send me emails or inbox me to let me know, hey, you know, that song spoke to me and now I'm able to push through this, and that. Yeah.
And you do have quite an audience that come from all walks of life.
All walks of life.
So what is it that you think you do, that you and your band do, that just pulls people in?
I have a heart for people. I love people and I love people's souls. So I think that is the biggest thing for the Keeshea Pratt band. I'm very big on giving an experience. Like, I want people to leave. The experience is all that matters to me.
Yeah.
Because if you're experiencing something, it means you're feeling it.
Yeah.
And there have been some times when I felt like I did not do my best, or I did not do the task at hand that was put before me. And, you know, I went home and I cried and I was like, I should have done this, I should have done it. And you know, you go back and you look and you say, I should have done this, I should have done this song. And then a month later, you get an email, just want to let you know that that was one of the best nights of my life. It just, you know, I just want people to leave different and changed for the good.
For the good.
Right. And now, but you know, and let me say this, I want them to be convicted, especially, so like when I do monkey see, monkey do, which I'm gonna do tonight.
Okay, good.
The words say you've been out all night and I can smell your cheap perfume. I smell her cheap perfume. I think you need to be reminded. My mama didn't raise no fool. She taught me to love everybody, and 2 wrongs don't make a right. But when you out there creeping, oh buddy, I go visit a friend of mine. See, I just want a man to get convicted. You understand what I'm saying?
That right there was
So that right there, that's what I'm saying. I want a man to have an experience. I want him to get convicted and realize, oh my God, I created a monster. Yes, you created a monster.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
so
Monkey see,
monkey do.
Oh, and the word experience, I had that in my notes.
Really?
Because that's what I felt when we first heard you in Austin. It was an experience.
Thank
We
you.
couldn't stop talking about you.
Thank you.
And couldn't stop talking about your band.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I love my band. I love them.
Tell us about that unique sound and how did this band, 7 members?
Yeah, actually, the band is actually 10 pieces.
Oh,
We
10
only
pieces.
travel, 10 to 12. We only tour with 6
Okay.
or 7. But whenever we're doing something major like SAAACAM, we bring everybody. So we will have a 4-piece horn section next month.
Oh,
We
good.
will have keys and organ,
Okay.
bass, 2 guitars, and background
Ah.
singers. So we will definitely, we bring in everybody.
Okay.
But the sound came from Sean Allen.
Okay.
And Sean Allen, so let me go back to when I met him. My hiatus, I know you want to talk about that. So where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with hiatus first, because
So,
people need to know, why did Keeshea Pratt stop
Yes.
performing for 7 years?
yes, and then we'll bring it all the way to the sound where the
Okay.
name came from. So I was living in Mississippi at the time. And at the time, my husband at the time got a job to come here to work at Texas Southern.
Okay.
So found out we were pregnant. Had not had a baby in 9 years, so I was really like numb. I thought I was immediately going to check myself in.
Okay.
Because I knew the Lord did not do this to me. I said, I'm too old for this. I was in my late 30s. And so we moved here, and I thought because I was having another baby that I was not supposed to be in music or entertainment. And it was just a trick, the mind playing tricks with me. Because I've known since I was a little girl that this is what I was supposed to be doing.
Right.
Dreamed of it. I'm talking about major dreams where I can tell you right now how many people I had on stage in my dreams when I was 7, 8, 9, and 10. And so I just decided that I would just not sing. I just left music alone, started going to church, and wouldn't get in the choir.
Wouldn't you get in the choir?
Wouldn't be on the praise team, and somehow or another they found out I could sing. And so then it just started stirring in me. Like, okay, so I talked to the praise and worship leader. She said, yeah, she said, I really would like to have you. So I got on the praise and worship team, but it was uncomfortable. Sometimes uncomfortable is good. This wasn't. It was good, but wasn't good because what it was doing, it was pushing me to jump back in. And so a friend of mine called me. She said, hey, I got a friend that's looking for a blues artist. Excuse me. And she said, I said, well, you know, I'm not singing it like that anymore, so no. And she said, Key, I think you should do it, at least talk to him, blah, blah, blah. So he had been, I think from my understanding, for about 6 months to a year, he had watched old videos of me. And I think he was probably just waiting on the right time to, contact me or whatever. So she called me again. I said, okay, fine. And we connected. He invited me to a show that he was doing at the Premier Blues Club in Houston. I went, and then he called me on stage, and I was mad. I was so mad. I was just sitting there like, I know he is something. I said, what you said? manifestation that I was just not singing right now. So I got on stage and I did a couple of songs and I came off stage and he said, so how did it feel? And I was trying really hard. I was like, it was all right, you know. But it was just exhilarating. I didn't sleep at all that night. And so one thing led to another. We met again, and I gave him the okay. And so we started working in the summer of 2016.
Okay.
And I was just going to different blues clubs, and he was introducing me to the scene, introducing me to other artists and musicians, and introduced me to the Houston Blues Society, brought me here for the San Antonio, and we just started working. And one thing about him, Sean is a phenomenal musician, very smart, talented, and gifted and anointed to do what he does. And he basically studied me. He would wake me up. He'd call and wake me up and say, come on, meet me at the park. So I would meet him at the park and we would walk like 7 a.m. And we would talk about my life and blah, 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 blah. Didn't know at the time what he was doing. He was learning who Keeshea Pratt was, so that he could write for me, so that he knew what person to put in the band and what made me, make my mojo work. And he basically, he put the band together. He is the man behind the plan. He put the machine behind it. He built the machine, and I can't thank him enough, because I know that nobody else could have done what he did and what he's done and what he's doing and what he's going to do. And he always tells me, it's going to come a time when I'm going to have to release you. Somebody is going to come. And I said, no, they have to take you too. He said, well, Keeshea, they may not want me. I said, well, we'll work out something.
Package deal.
Consultant or something. But, my confidence was down way low when he started working with me. It was so low until I didn't even think I could sing anymore. I didn't think I was good enough. And I had a lot of self-sabotaging qualities. I don't want to say qualities, but it is what it is. It's not failure that scares us. It's when it's seeing us making it. Because if you get a glimpse of where the Creator is trying to take you, it will scare you. Because you're responsible for what people hear. You're responsible for what you put out. And I think I was afraid of success. I'm gonna be honest. Afraid of success. So, and it's been a long journey. We've been working together for 6 years now. We're in the process of recording a new project. We released Believe in 2018 after I won the International Blues Challenge in Memphis. And it's been a struggle. I'm very transparent, so I don't want people to think that I don't want to put out new music or that I'm gonna quit or this or that. That's not what it is. The pandemic really played a role and took a toll on me. I had to become a full-time mom during the pandemic. So I didn't get a chance to go and do this and do that. I was a mom. My days started at 4 a.m. every day. And so, because my kids were in school, and I had to be the principal, the teacher, the cook, the this and that. Everything. And but it was good for me because I have a better relationship with my children. And I started writing during the pandemic. So, and I don't know how good of a writer I am. I'm looking forward to doing some singer-songwriter sessions with some people. But I am a different person than I was before the pandemic. This last year has been a growing stage for me. It's been transformational for me. I think I am a different artist. So there's some things that we're getting ready to tap into. That's gonna be a little different for you guys.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna leave my roots.
Oh, gotta keep those roots.
I'm keeping the roots. So.
Now you mentioned I know we have just a few more moments because you do have a performance
I do.
tonight.
Oh, yes. Yes.
But I do want to ask you about your CD, Believe.
Yes.
And first of all, why the title?
The songs that were written on the album were basically about me. Mm-hmm. The title track is basically Keeshea Pratt's life. Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't believe in me. I gave up. My people, my family kind of, you know, because when I decided to go full time with my career, I had no support from anybody. Mm. You are a mom. You can't do this. That was the first thing I heard. What about your kids? I said, they have a daddy. And if I was in the military and was stationed somewhere,
no one would have been saying that.
What would y'all say?
Right.
I said, so let's just look at it like that.
Yes.
But it was a lot for me because I'm so family oriented and I've always done everything for my family. Mm-hmm. But that had to be broken.
Yeah.
I didn't know who I was. I didn't. Because I've lived for family and for other people, letting other people tell me, you should sing this, you should do this, you should do that. And so now I'm coming into this thing where I believe I'm about to be rebirthed. And I'm excited about it.
Okay. So where can people find your music? And how can they follow you? What is your website?
So our website is KeesheaPratt.com, and Keeshea is spelled KeesheaPratt.com. We're on all social media platforms. Facebook is the Keeshea Pratt Band Experience. There's a word.
There it is.
That's it. Instagram and Twitter is the Keeshea Pratt Band. We are also on Snapchat, which I don't know how to use. I'm sorry. And TikTok. Still, I'm in training. My kids are training me. Hopefully in the next month, I'll be able to TikTok and Snapchat. But right now, I'm just taking it slow. All of our music is on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, all of your music outlets. You can find the Keeshea Pratt Band music. And basically, anywhere you go, somebody knows the Keeshea Pratt Band.
That's right.
Yes, indeed. But I would just ask for you guys to follow us. You never know when we're in the city near you. And it's touring season, so we're getting ready to hit the road. We're going to be in Iowa, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Kansas. We're getting ready to go abroad to Europe. So, yeah, we're excited about all of that. So just, you know, you guys check out the website. All of the dates are there, and it's updated every day, if not every other day. And join the email blast so you can get an email from Keeshea Pratt.
Yes, definitely do that.
Yes.
Keeshea, this has been a joy.
It has been a joy.
I wish we could continue talking, but I guess we're gonna. Before we go, can you maybe share some of your voice with us? Maybe sing a little something.
Let me see. So what do you want? Blues, gospel, what do you want?
Oh, whatever you're feeling right now.
Let me see. I said, I need you. I need thee. Yeah. Every hour I need thee. I think that's enough.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna stop it right there. Let me stop it right there, but
well, we'll let them get.
oh
yes.
Me now, my Savior, I come to thee. Yes, Lord. I'm good. But that's my roots, and I'm gonna always give him the praise.
All right. Yes. Thank you so much for that. And you guys, if you want to hear more of this voice and the Keeshea Pratt Band and the Keeshea Pratt Experience, make sure you get your tickets for the SAAACAM Blues Festival, which is going to be on April the 28th. There are still VIP tickets available, VIP tables, and general admission. Go to saacam.org. That's SAAACAM.org. Get your tickets today because you will regret not being there.
Exactly. And let me throw this in. Not only will you have Keeshea Pratt, but you will have Mr. Let's Straighten It Out himself, Mr. Lattimore. He's coming all the way. We're going to bring him all the way from Florida. Then we're going to have Step Rito and the Zydeco Outlaws to give us some Zydeco music. And we have a couple of others. I think his name is Saul Paul and the All-Nighters. So, hey, you guys get your tickets. This will be a night to remember.
Yes.
April 28th at the FC.
At the FC, yes. Wear your comfortable shoes because you will be dancing all night.
All night long. All night long. Shit all night long. Shit all night long. Shit all night long. We gon' picture white night noodle all night long.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
TAAN TV, thank you for tuning in and have a good night.